Pahrump's United Rentals. From home to job site, they have all your equipment needs. Call 775-990-4260.
Today, President Joe Biden held a speech where he spoke about the prices of healthcare, and his vow to lower healthcare costs. Before Joe Biden began his speech, Christopher Garcia, a man who struggles with paying for his healthcare services, spoke on the stage. Garcia highlighted that he was born with several bleeding disorders, and oftentimes he has to work extra shifts just to try and afford his life-saving medication.
I'm constantly forced to split my medications or decide which medications to forego altogether because I simply can't afford them. Every morning, I hope I have enough meds just to make it through the day without a medical issue.
After Garcia introduced Biden onto the stage, he briefly touched on Garcia's story and stated how millions of other Americans face these same struggles.
Millions of Americans, millions, have similar stories, lying in bed at night, literally staring at the ceiling, wondering what in God's name will happen if their spouse gets cancer, or if their child gets sick, or something happens to them. Are they going to have enough insurance? Can they afford the medical bills they're going to have? The drug companies are charging exorbitant prescription drug prices, higher prices than anywhere in the world. And Bernie said it, I was listening in the back, Bernie, you and I have been fighting this for 25 years. Finally we beat Big Pharma, finally.
President Biden stated that he was proud of his administration for taking on big pharmaceutical companies and praised Bernie Sanders for helping in this fight. He stated that without Bernie Sanders leading the way for decades, we wouldn't be where we are today. He went on to state that despite this reduction in prices, big pharmaceuticals still make a profit. He also spoke on how Medicare is now available to negotiate lowering the prices of drug costs every year, and stated that this reduction in prices isn't only saving the lives of seniors, but anyone who relies on prescription drugs. He also spoke on how different drugs are currently being negotiated to lower their prices as well as insulin, and states that, quote, we should be more aggressive.
But I think we should be more aggressive. It's time to negotiate lower prices for at least 50 drugs a year. We only have the law only requires 10 now. If we move that number up, we'll save taxpayers another $200 billion. On top of the $160 billion, because Medicare will not be paying these exorbitant costs.
He also spoke about cutting the deficit and about how, quote, the other guy talked about cutting the deficit and stated that they increased the deficit more than any other president in history. Most likely, he was referring to previous president Donald Trump. He stated that capitalism isn't capitalism if there is no competition. Otherwise, he says it's just exploitation.
When Big Pharma doesn't play by the rules, competitors can't offer lower prices for generic drugs and devices that carry that medication, so prices are raised artificially. I thank Bernie for leading the charge to do something about this.
He also spoke about how the cost of inhalers range between $200 and $600 without insurance, and states that it only costs less than $5 to make an inhaler. Biden then promoted both his and Bernie Sanders' efforts to cap the cost of major inhaler manufacturers at $35 a month. Lastly, Biden stated that this is historic progress to lower the costs of prescription drugs, of once again everyone and not just seniors, and his optimism towards the future of healthcare.
Thank you all.